So we're going to talk about platonic male friendships. Um, Platonic male friendships and pretty privilege, because these things go hand in hand. And I saw, what is her name? So I like to give people credit when they have shared the idea. So Priscilla Boy made a video, and her video is called Women Share Their Experiences Being Friends with Men. Okay, so I'm not going to give too many examples here, just because I feel like so many other people have done like exposés, right, about the different forms of pretty privilege, what it is, how it works, how it plays out in life. But I want to talk really to the Black girlies here, because I feel like there are a couple, new people here. I'm not sure if some of you have, I'm not a part of the exotical space. I'm not going to talk about how other people classify me, but I personally classify myself as just 100% Black, right? Habesha, you could maybe cluster me into that, like African, Black, American, something like that. But yeah, I don't consider myself some sort of biracial, exotical person, but I do think that a lot of those spaces, specifically the brown skin exotical, has made many videos unpacking pretty privilege, unpacking what that means, especially for, brown, Black girlies. So I highly encourage you to check out that space for more in-depth conversations on that topic area. So I'm not going to cover that here, but I will say this. There is a pretty privilege currency. And I think that a lot of confusion that some people, men and women alike, especially in the Black community, are facing is their lack of globalism and their lack of multicultural sort of orientation, and kind of what the currency of female across societies, and then the currency of female within patriarchy, and then even on top of that, the currency of pretty privilege within patriarchy. And then I know there's levels to this. Then the currency of pretty privilege within purity politics within patriarchy. Okay. So at the top of this pyramid, right? This pyramid of, we'll call it male access, right? People are putting Sophie Rain right now pretty high on the list. Well, she's white presenting. I guess she's a virgin. She's not ugly. She's definitely not the most attractive person ever, but she's decent looking, right? But it's the purity politics which is playing, and the pseudo-Christian philosophy, right? So, but then you have her kind of promoting this female, because she's biologically female. She's also white looking, and she's a self-proclaimed a virgin. So she's got the purity politics, the religion, the Christian ideology, right? But I don't remember anywhere where Jesus wrote to twerk for God, or strip for the OnlyFans. But whatever, right? Where this is 2025, this is America, everybody to each his own. But if we're talking about points, though, she's got a couple different points going. Let's make a system, 1 point for every privilege, right? So she's not morbidly obese, so automatically she's got 3 points. Then she does have some pretty, right? There's some pretty there, so okay, we'll give her 3 more points. And she's a virgin, okay, we'll give her 3 more points. So she's at a 9. That's a pretty. And then she's got the Christianity thing, right? She's supposedly has some ethical privilege. But then wait, she's in America. So now because she's in America, she's got 10 additional points. So she's at a 19 right now, which is pretty high, because I was only making the scale for 10. So she's got a lot of things going for her, but we'd have to unpack that. Because obviously this is a channel for Black women. So we got to put this into some context and reformat our pyramid to understand how these things are playing out. Because when you really think about it, why would men who could, everyone can spend their money however they want to spend their money, right? And we're just going to try to have conversations about men who have money, because there's a decent amount of them who are just playing video games right now and don't have any money. So we're not going to even include those men. Those men are somewhere else. But the ones who have some kind of job and some kind of income, when you really think about it, like, what would they like to spend their money on? Now, I know from personal research, I can tell you, they're spending their money on either alcohol, some are addicted to drugs, if they can afford prostitutes, that, or video games. Video games are very high on the list, and video game affiliated things. This could be like magical football leagues, I don't know, any sort of, some are doing things like running clubs. Those things don't cost any money, but maybe running shoes, private club memberships, shit like that, self-improvement courses or educational things. They could also be giving it to like red pill men who are giving them bad advice about the world. Those are all things that they could be spending their money on. But when you really think about it, what return are men actually getting on Sophie Rain OnlyFans photos? That is a question I just want you to like think about for a second. So these men don't have any, like, they're not actually going on like real dates in real life with Sophie Rain. They're just purchasing photographs of Sophie Rain on OnlyFans. And I think she made, what, $20 million or something last week? Is she making $1 million a month? Something like that. She's making a lot of money. This bitch is going to the bank off of selling photographs. So, okay, let's like take away how she looks or that. Just so this is a person that's alive, right? An alive human woman is posting a photograph of her being alive, and then men who are also alive are buying this. But we have to compare that to the data and the information that we know about the men now, because I just watched Destiny Ute's video, which was talking about how currently there are many wives who are contracting these like vaginal bacterial diseases that are now coming because men are fucking corpses, and so then they go home to their wives and they're like they're transmitting the new, like, it's like a maggot or something when a body starts to decay that forms inside of decaying bodies, and men are bringing that back into civil society when they sleep with their wives after they've slept with the corpse. So it isn't even just about men having access to a woman, because like somebody is married to them and these men are still going out and fucking corpses. So there's something to just being alive, right? Like, I can't really explain all the deformity, and I can tell you right now, 70% of men in society cannot appreciate aesthetics. So like, they know, it's not like they're reading Vogue and getting the same shit out of it we're getting. They are legitimately looking at like alive things walking around in the world and being like, oh, there's some value to that. And I guess like once they understand that it's like biologically female and maybe has the organs, maybe there's some sort of like hormonal thing that happens that where they're like, oh my god, let me like buy a photograph of that thing that I know is alive. But I feel like there's probably some market where they're buying pictures of dead women too. But let's not become too grim in this video. So okay, so we got some points for just being alive, because we haven't even talked about physical attractiveness. Like, remember, most of American wives look like Roseanne, so that's where the bar is. And Roseanne is still getting princess treatment, and that bitch looks like that. So like, this has nothing to do with aesthetics. It has nothing to do with like class or fucking decency, communication, nothing. We're just talking about alive with a pulse. I guess because it's like socially acceptable for men to date alive women currently. Okay, so let's go back. All these women are coming on and they're talking about their stories of how, oh, some women are like, yes, you can totally have platonic friendships. Other women are like, no, you can't have platonic friendships. I will say this. I think that if you, like, how much free time do you have? Where are you in terms of your own personal journey of like self-sufficiency, right? Like, when you're looking at Maslow's hierarchy, if everything above the self-actualization piece is met, I think you're in a place where you can have platonic male friendships. But here's another thing, like, just the way that society is set up, you're not going to really be able to escape the other men. I've tried multiple ways to like create a pseudo society where I'd be like, okay, well, there would be no men here. It's really, really difficult. Like, you have to amass a certain amount of wealth that would just make it so you don't have any men around you at all. Like, you kind of need a lot. So if you don't have a lot, then you're gonna have to deal with some men either at your job or just fucking in the world, because they are around and they don't just go into a hole or somewhere. But maybe that'll change soon. Who knows? Anyway, so where was I? Okay, like, let's say that you figured out a way, some way, you have an income, you have a job, you have your housing situation figured out, you're getting your 3 meals a day. Yes, I think that you should, if there's some man who I don't know, maybe you guys have some mutual interest or something, you met him at a run club, or that's another thing that's very, it's just going to happen naturally. Like, if you go out into society, which I definitely think all Black women should go out and participate in society. Like, have your job, have the regular spaces that you go to, that you frequent, that you like, right? And then, like, from that, there's just going to be men there, because men have taken over every space. So, you know, they're going to be there. So, like, yes, you're going to come across men who you see not once, not twice. Like, they're going to be members of the community. So there you go. There's your platonic relationships with men, and the ones who are in society, those are the ones that you interact with. That's it. Like, but, like, I think this is going further, though, because I really like the experience. It was either the first or second experience, and watch the video on your own. I'm not clipping it. I just don't feel like it. But it looks like she's some Muslim woman, and she was talking about how she spends all her time with, like, her best friend, and he's, like, rubbing her feet and buying her soup and shit. He's tucking her in. They're sharing bedtime stories. Yeah, I mean, she's married to this man. We can all say whatever and be like, no, like, they're just friends because they're not having sex. Like, no, she's in a whole ass relationship with him, and he's in a relationship with her, and they just don't have, like, a marriage certificate, and they just don't have sex. But there's lots of married couples who do that too. So yes, they're just married and off paper. But I mean, that is and then she was talking about, like, oh, I hope he finds a wife. I think that's a very interesting thing about the Muslim society and the purity politics there, where they just believe, and I don't know if this is something, I kind of think this is like a loose translation of the Quran that people are just applying. So everything is simply about, like, intercourse, right? Like women who've had intercourse are dirty, and then women who have not are clean. But, like, really everything outside of that is not dictated in any way. So there's all these, like, this is where, like, American society kind of comes in, and American patriarchy specifically kind of reinforces quite a lot of shit. There's a whole other conversation we can have about the Middle East and the women who just don't have any rights at all. Like, they can't even drive, you know, you can't go anywhere without your husband, sort of thing. So those societies have already been policed in a way where women don't have any ability to choose. So, like, we can't have serious conversations. But in America, women legitimately have, like, rights and can choose to, like, do shit on their own without a husband. You can vote, you know, you can buy shit, like, you can own property, you can have a credit card, like, all the things, you can do it. So I had a point to this. Okay, so there's this example of this woman who's basically in a whole marriage with this man, and she's describing all of these, like, she's describing their relationship, and it is a good relationship. It's not, I'm not saying it's bad at all. It's actually very good. But it's, like, false for her to, like, portray that as, like, basically something that's not kind of like a very serious loving relationship with a man who's not her husband. And I do think that there's, like, probably some boundaries that she should just personally set, and it doesn't really feel like she set any of those, but that's her life. Everybody has their shit. I've also, you know, in my life had I would say very much lower boundaries than I have now, where, you know, you just enable yourself to have certain experiences with men even though they're not, like, your husband. And I do think that that can be kind of problematic in a way, and you might just want to rethink that. But then there's another woman, and I think that this woman's experience is much more true to life. So this woman explains, so she explains a couple things. She basically had a platonic friendship with a man who was chronically single. And this is the part that I think women need to understand. Men in society, especially men in American society, have to do a lot to get access to any women besides the women that they are not literally related to by blood. Like their sisters and their mothers are the first and primary relationships with women in the world that they have. Like the next relationships that most of them will have will be who they marry, and that's it. Like they won't really, maybe like some women that they work with, I see this a lot in Hispanic culture, like it's very clear, like these men don't know other women. Maybe in some way they've like purchased women for things, right? But like it isn't as though they've had meaningful conversations with other women outside of their community. This is why it's so important, and this is actually another reason why I keep my videos public. Like, I really do hope people from other cultures at least tap the fuck in, because I've been talking shit about y'all for years. And, like, it's just like, well, I made it public, so I did do community service in that way. I've given public talks about the same topics that I talk about here. But I guess people just feel like because you don't say it right to their face, like, I don't have any need to degrade people right to their face unless the opportunity presents itself. And when it does, I'm not the one to hold my tongue. Let's just put it that way. But I do think that this is kind of another one of the ways that I have seen black men thrive, right? Because I feel like black men have been out here doing anthropological studies about the world, and I've befriended enough fuckboys, and I have enough in my family. Like, the funny thing about this, I think people always think I'm joking until maybe I'll start to just share pictures of, I feel like I've shared a lot of photos here of my family members, but the way that some other men who are not related to me have said it, they're like, wow, everyone in your family looks like models. And I'm like, well, they are, but like, that's not the point. Like, and we all look very different. So because we all look so different, but in our different lanes, we're kind of still like the attractive people in each group, then you can legitimately like do some kind of case studies around like, okay, so what is the privilege that you get from being brown skinned? Okay, we can go to Livy. What's the privilege you get from being light skinned? Okay, you can go to Shayla. What's the privilege you get from being like a handsome Italian man? Okay, you can go to Julius. What's the privilege you get from being like a handsome dark skinned man? You can go to Lamar. Like there's a person from each group who can do a sociological study to be like, you just go out and then this is what you get from like being that. I feel like so many people who are familiar with my family understand that that's the way it works. And I think that people from other groups, especially because they don't have that diversity of like pretty privilege across ethnicities, they don't know how it plays out. So this is how I could tell you from the start, like ever since I was a small child, like other continental Africans have like given my mother shit to give to me because they realized that like, well, she's Habesha, so we gotta like this happened, I feel like the first time for me in 2008, a bunch of Habesha girls on Instagram, because there's like the algorithm really does filter on like who you follow. So some Habesha girls started following me, and then they were doing the thing with the clay mask on your hair, and everybody seemed to have questions about like, oh, well, why is your hair growing so long? And that's how I knew about the clay mask, because it just came up on my feed, and a bunch of Habesha girls were like, yo, do this. And I was like, okay. It's just, tribalism is it's the way of the world. So all you have to do is find your tribe. So, I mean, if you're here, like I'm really happy that my algorithm is now changing to basically be like exclusively Habesha girls, which I love because, I mean, we're going to be there anyway. Also, Leah Kibiti is in Ethiopia, and it was like a very happy day for me. We're going to talk about that because I have so much to say about it. But yes, that is really happening right now, and I just feel so seen. Anyway, so wait, let's go back. Oh my god, I just lost my train of thought. Okay, so where would this play out into these platonic relationships with men? Now, I think you can kind of see it if you start to think about like the dating apps. Like, if you haven't seen all the videos where the women are giving compilations of why all the advertisements are like, women get on the dating apps. So all the dating apps right now have like 90% men, and there's only like 10% women on the dating app, period. So all the men are trying to match with just any woman, and no women are on these apps. And then there's a whole other thing where we have like the women in the developing world, right? And the women in the developing worlds are doing cam girl shit. So they're like constantly online all day, maybe being naked or doing other things on cams, right? And they're for sale. They're just like doing cam things to get money because their currency is so low that even getting a small amount of money is like worth something. And the men are buying that. So it's like this digital currency being exchanged between like gender and men. And then there's something else now that's like coming full circle, because this has been happening for so long that it's like, okay, well, that's great. So now the women have found all these like hobbies and groups and like collective organizations to like occupy our time, to build community and communication networks and all these different things. And they didn't have anything to do with like real relationships with the men in like the society. And now the men are like, they have to, like, it's time for them to find like mates to like reproduce. Like, who's gonna do it with them, right? Because like, if all the men in your community who were like not weird already have partners, okay, and they're like legitimately going forward in like procreation. All the other men though are like left behind because they're still online buying cam girls. So unless they are going to fly those cam girls out to wherever they are and then make them wives and then, you know, start families with them, and then there's like visa fees and all these type of shit they have to pay, but they don't have any money, they don't have any like resources or social skills. So that's why they were buying cam girls in the first place. You see how these things like trickle down? So this woman's experience where she's saying, yes, I had this platonic relationship with this man, and then he was sharing his dating experiences, and then I was sharing my dating experiences. But what I realized over time is that his advice actually wasn't useful or good, and even the advice I got from my parents wasn't really useful or good. So then, like, who's giving useful and good advice? And that is the question. But there is no real answer, because everything is kind of relative for each person. I can't tell you how much pretty privilege you have. I can tell you how much pretty privilege I have, and I can tell you about my experiences, but that might not translate to you because you're a different person than me, right? And then I could also explain to you like the men who have been in my life, who are in my life, and the relative amount of, I'll call it like access or money that they have, right? And what that means for them and what I've seen them do with it. And like who they choose to spend those resources on, things like that. I could explain all of that to you. I just don't know, like that might not translate to your individual experiences, because there's a bunch of different parameters that are coming in, and it is useful to go out into the real world and definitely go talk to some men so you can like get some information for yourself. But I will go back to the patriarchy, because everything goes back to the patriarchy. There's a tier. The men are in line. So, I mean, if you're a woman, the only thing really that matters for you in terms of the men is you just have to watch the throne. And I'll make another video about this, but this is why it's important to understand what Beyonce and Jay-Z are doing, because watch the throne, and Jay-Z is one of the men at the top. So all you have to do, if you want to just follow who's winning, go see what they do. That's it. Just watch what they do, understand what is happening. This is why you should be paying attention to Jay-Z and Beyonce moving to London, which I've been saying for months, but I will actually make another video about that because that's a very interesting topic. But yeah, that's it. I think this is like kind of complicated because it's like layered. But the major point is men having access to any women at all gives them privilege. Women are currency in society. Other, like, women who see other men with women get more access to more women. There are a lot of men in society who have access to no women outside of their mothers. Like, their mothers are the only women who are willing to tolerate them. That is true for, just take that as Bible for like 90% of men, and you will understand society so much better. And when you come across a new man in any form, in any place, ask yourself, do you want to be around this man? Like, what is this man bringing into your life? In terms of, like, is he bringing anything of value into your life? Is he funny? Is he like, maybe he's well read, so he can talk to you about philosophy. Is okay, that's a thing. Oh, he knows a lot about music, so he has a lot of knowledge about music. Does he have a skill in some way that he's offering you? No. Is he like, what is that friendship worth? If the answer is nothing, and he's bringing legitimately nothing, then that's what you should know. Like, you're just wasting your time being around that man, and he is like ejecting currency from your presence as a woman. And we haven't even gotten though into like the hierarchy of pretty privilege to say, like, if you have more pretty privilege and you're letting more men have access to you, then like all of those men are just sucking like the only resource that there is out of you. And maybe you should stop that. Food for thought, but we'll continue that conversation later.